Hi everybody. So we're going to jump right into this one, but first my name's James Mazzio. I'm going to put little scanner things all over the place so you could read my other essays and all the writings I've done in my other groups and everything. So you'll see these. It'll be easy. You just scan them with your phone. But we're going to jump right into this one. This one is Esoteric Essay Number 8. To Infinity and Beyond. Are gray aliens real? Where did they come from? If they are, part 1. There might be a little bit more than just part 1 inside of this. This might be expanded. Okay. I have come to these conclusions from my personal experiences and my research that include maps, ancient, old, and new, including the esoteric and hidden. Ancient esoteric writings from various secret libraries, church documents, both public and hidden, ancient Aztec codices in the public domain and in private hands, Aztec and Mayan hieroglyphs, Native American myths, legends, and oral histories, also many other cultures' ancient teachings about their original spiritual beliefs about this subject. I have also spoken to countless people and listened to their personal encounter sightings, abduction stories, and tales of seeing fantastical things in places all over our country where people normally do not go. First off, to any new readers, this is essay number 8 in a series of essays that are telling a larger overall picture of things that have been hidden from us. I know not all of you have read the initial 7 essays, and I will try to keep that in mind while writing this one, so it's easy to follow as possible for new readers who have not read the first 7 essays yet. I'm either going to insert something here where you can click to see that playlist, or at the end there'll be the playlist and you can click it and see all the other videos. And then there'll be links that take you to the essays themselves. So, I highly encourage you all to seek these out and read them because they directly tie into this subject as well. If you read them, either before or after this, if I did my job right, you will have an even deeper view about how all of these subjects tie together in an even larger overall big picture. I will explain how to read these essays at the end of this one. They are absolutely free to everyone and available. Most of them, like the first 6, are in video form here on YouTube, and then all of them are in my group on Facebook. So, gray aliens. What are these? Are they real? Is there any proof that these little guys even exist, or are we all just crazy? I've asked myself all of these questions when I was first told about these little guys when I was a small child. What does God think about aliens? That's a good question. I was raised to believe in God, so I had to think about this as well. Do I have to pick a side here between God and aliens? If aliens are real, does that mean God is not? I wonder. I have obsessively searched for more than 40 years to answer the answers to these questions, and this is what I found. I absolutely believe that there really are short, large-headed, big-eyed, gray, palish white, spindly thin beings / creatures on, in, and above this planet, and we know them as and call them gray aliens. I go on record publicly right now saying this is absolutely true. We are not all crazy, and something is going on. And we are all being lied to about what these beings really are and what is really happening. I'm going to give you a very different spin as to what these gray beings really are. As carefully as possibly, I will try to explain this while leaving out all the misinformation and lies normally tossed in by our local leaders, governments, politicians, and military leaders in the attempt to keep all of us questioning everyone and confused about everything while pretending to give us disclosure as they lie to us even more. I am actually okay with the term gray alien. This is a fair description of this being, but they have been known by many other names throughout history, and those names work just as well. First off, we need to clear up one lie and misconception ASAP. Alien does not mean from another world. No, it does not. I will also go on record right now saying these beings are not only real, but they are not from another world. No matter which one you pick or name, you could name anyone, Mars, see, any of the little planets, they're not from there. See, they are not from the moon, they are not from Mars. They are definitely not from the planet Zeta Reticuli. Zeta Reticuli is the version they would like you to believe, and they started planting that false narrative / information years ago using two patsies named Bob Lazar and Mr. George Knapp from KFI AM 640 Coast to Coast Talk Radio. Yep. That was in the 90s. These gray beings are real, and they have been here with us in one form or another for thousands and thousands of years. We have myths and legends of them from every culture from all over the world. They are depicted in extremely old religious artwork. I'll try to put some of that up there. They have been depicted in ancient stone statues, in rock carvings and petroglyphs. I argue they are depicted in Egyptian hieroglyphs and some statues. They are carved into destroyed Peruvian temples that are tens of thousands of years old. These little beings show up everywhere you look throughout modern history. It's only very recently that we started calling them gray aliens from another world. More modern and religious names for these beings were monsters, ghouls, vampires, demons, jinn, trolls, goblins, what do they call it? The Kentucky Devil? That's a good one. We'll get to that later. These really have been written about in many esoteric texts. Holy books like the Bible, the Book of Enoch, the Babylonian tablets, for sure, the Quran, the Mahabharata. This list goes on and on. Like the Zohar. You gotta really look at the Zohar here. These things are mentioned all over the place, whether it be portrayed in artwork or written about in books or in scrolls. Two really great sources that lead closer to the real truth are, I said this already, the Zohar and the ancient oral teachings of the Native Americans, the Azteca, the Maya, and the Olmec, and the remaining pottery and artwork. They have a lot of stuff in their pottery and artwork that depict these little beings. I know a lot of you guys have watched at least a few episodes of the TV show called Ancient Aliens. This show really has introduced people to a very good example of an ancient account of a gray alien, the Native American myth of the ant people. This is an example of what we now call a gray alien. The oldest Native American stories and legends speak of a huge catastrophe that happened about 10,000 years ago or a little longer. They claim they survived this catastrophe and resulting flood by living underground in the huge, giant ancient cities that were full of very advanced ant people / gray aliens. These ones have the antennae. The one that are flying around in the ancient drones that are still functioning, and we call them UFOs, they don't need the antennae because they're below ground and they're near their technology. And so the ones that were underground, those ones needed antennae to communicate with each other because they were so deep underground. So that's why the Native Americans, when they dealt with this version of the gray aliens that are synthetically created from the past, I'll get to that later, but that's why they had antennae, the ones underground, and the ones on the ship today that we sometimes see, the real ones, they don't have the antennae. Okay, back to this. So they claim they survived this catastrophe and resulting flood by living underground in huge, giant ancient cities that were full of very advanced ant people / gray aliens who helped them survive. Yep. Eventually, the Native Americans were able to leave the underground cities and return to living on the surface. The Native Americans have always told this story, and we refuse to believe them like it's just a fairy tale. They carved it all over the canyon walls that they still protect in some secret areas to this very day. One of these ancient underground cities is hidden in plain sight under one of the most popular tourist attractions in the United States. Yep, the Grand Canyon. talk a lot about that in one of my previous videos here on YouTube and in one of my previous essays. I tell you that the Grand Canyon is really a scar in the result of an ancient war that happened between these advanced civilizations. And there's a city under there, and that's why they attacked it. They left the Grand Canyon above it. Hey, you should find that video. I'll put a little link or something. Look at the show notes. I always wanted to say that, but here we go. So, one of these ancient underground cities is hidden in plain sight. It's the most popular tourist attraction in the United States, the Grand Canyon. I write all about this in one of my other essays, and I encourage you all to read it. It expands much, much further. So, the Native Americans are not the only culture that speak of these gray aliens, Ant-Men. The ancient Azteca, Maya, and Olmec all do as well. Boy, they sure did. They have the same exact oral creation stories, myths, and legends. They just use different names than the Native Americans do. They've like slightly changed the names of gods here and there, because they were separated. Their cultures were separated over time, but they're still almost the same people. The Azteca believe they once lived far to the north of current-day Mexico in a very ancient, one-time super advanced underground civilization they called Aztlan. I write about these lost cities as well in many more essays. Essay number 2 and number 4 has a lot to do with what's really being hidden under Area 51. These were once known as Aztlan. There are 7 of these lost underground cities, according to the Aztec, scattered under the western deserts of the United States of America. And these secret cities are real, and a real reason for the placement of a few of our top secret military bases. Yep, think Area 51 for sure. Dugway Proving Ground and a few others we'll get into sometime. These ancient lost cities are the real source for all of our technical advances, and I write more about all of this in my other essays too. They found ancient, lost high technology under these areas. We call them Vimanas in some of these ancient writings, from like the Hindu and the Mahabharata, they're called Vimanas, but today we call them UFOs. But for all you ancient alien fans, you know the name Vimanas. And so they found ancient lost high technology under these areas, Vimanas, for all you ancient aliens fans. And they have been reverse engineering it, and they have made up the lie about these things being from outer space to hide the truth. Totally true. Here is your disclosure, people. All of this technology, all of this is technology from our deep past, including the little gray guys that we now call aliens. That's technology too. I will get to this, and I will try to expand. Again, the Aztecs speak of all of this, and the remaining physical objects that they left that were not destroyed by the Spanish or the church are stunning. You should see these things. All these pagan artifacts that they were supposedly worshiping. They showed all these crazy things on them that the church destroyed, that they didn't, because they didn't want you to see what they were really talking about. I will try to track down and include some of these pictures, so I'm going to put these up as we're talking. And these are examples of some of these things that came from deep Mexico. And some of these are what survived the Spanish when they came over 500 years ago, and they were looting and destroying all the Aztec temples and looking for gold and Montezuma and all this stuff. These were like the artifacts that they were hunting down the priests, and they were destroying them, and they were killing everybody. So I will try to track down some of these pictures and post them. The Aztec have the better physical objects, and the Native Americans have the better oral histories. There is proof and evidence. That's because they killed most of the male Aztec men so they could rape their wives and Latinize the Native Americans and then make them Latin Americans, Latinos. So I had to put that in there real quick. That's not in an essay, but that's where the word Latino comes from. It's a horrible slang. And these were not, that's how Mexicans, they were Mexica. They were not Latin anything. Latin is the colonies in the Latin area, like Spain and all of them. They came here, destroyed the Aztec and the native population here, killed them all. the men, and basically raped their wives and Latinized the rest of their descendants from that point on. So from that point on, 500 years ago, we called the survivors of this Holocaust that happened in Mexico, we call the survivors of them Latin Americans or Latinos, to be even more disgusting, which is disgusting. I would like everybody to stop saying that, because that's what this word really means. But okay, enough of that. I told you I was going to expand on this a little bit, and I had to say that because that's the truth. So, okay. The Aztec have better physical objects, and the Native Americans have better oral histories. There is proof and evidence for all of this, and please follow me while I explain. First, I encourage you all to read the book called the Zohar. This is an old Kabbalistic Jewish text. For a very long time, this book was considered forbidden knowledge, and only a small handful of people knew of its existence, and even fewer were allowed to read it and see what it said. So people asked me what to read. This was very highly guarded for a long time. So here's one of them. Go find it. You can get it today and actually read it and see what they're telling you in it. Now you can read it. And it's been edited too. But check it out. It's out there. This book speaks of the gray aliens. Most people won't read this or seek it out, but I urge you to. If you make it through this book and understand what it subtly hints at, it leads you to believe these gray creatures have been here, living with us since before the flood, and they are connected to what the Bible and other books and writings call the original sin. That these are beings that the Watchers created long ago, before the flood, using forbidden, lost technology like genetic modification and cloning, like we're sort of doing today. Like, I give you a big secret, like what's going on in places like Antarctica with the cloning. But, I mean, we have cloning, we have CRISPR-Cas9 and genetic modification, and that's all the starts of what they were doing a long time ago. And these gray aliens are connected to a lot of that was going on. These synthetically engineered, cloned, and artificially grown gray aliens are really organic machines that are physically linked together and running on a very ancient and super advanced artificial intelligent computer program. Yep, you heard me. That's exactly what I'm saying. These creations would be part of the original sin, where the Watchers thought they knew better than God and figured they would create their own life form to serve their every need in the deep past. Some of these machines, gray aliens, have survived and thrived living deep underground with the access to ancient lost high technology, and they are still with us today. Some of the more unexplainable UFOs are ancient machines / drones / vimanas, and are controlled and piloted by them or the computer machines controlling them. They not only have access to ancient lost high Atlantean technology, they are ancient lost high Atlantean technology. The Zohar can lead one to believe that these beings are sometimes friendly and helpful, but some are tricksters and evil and highly psychic in nature. Both of these seem to be true at the same time. I have read so much, it's made my head spin. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pages. I have visited all these ancient sites and locations personally and verified to myself the best of my ability what should be there and what's really there instead. I've researched and cross-referenced and compared everything I've seen and found with the things we were told in all the books that I've told you to read. These include the Bible, the Book of Enoch, and any other books that were edited out of the Bible. There are dozens. Read multiple copies from everything from different ages and time and see what's been edited out over the years. Read the Quran like I have, the Mahabharata, all the ancient Sanskrit texts. Read the Book of Mormon. Once you finish these, seek out the Babylonian tablets, figure out what those are really saying, and just don't trust the experts that tell you to trust their version of what they are really saying. Now toss in all the occult material that seems like nonsense, all of the hidden esoteric stuff hidden and guarded by the ancient orders. These are all slivers of even more confusing things that's fought over and hidden by groups that hate each other. These groups have been fighting over this stuff and trying to understand it all for thousands and thousands of years. for me to explain the rest of this, you're going to have to accept the rest of what I say as my interpretation of all the experiences that I pieced together with all the secret material that I was able to see, hear, and witness over the years. So basically what I'm trying to say is I've done all this myself, and this is what I've come to. So I've actually posted about gray aliens before, but I will expand much further now in this essay. This is about to become a wild ride. Alien. So alien equals alien, aka, oh, it's hard to do it because of the way I wrote it. So the A of alien would be artificial. L of alien would be life form. I of alien would be intelligently. The E of alien would be engineered/designed. And N of alien would be network. So alien basically equals an artificial life form, intelligently engineered, designed network. I have already said that the gray aliens are basically organic machines/computers from Atlantis, and possibly an even earlier civilization than that one. This is how the story goes as best as I can tell and piece it together. The Greys, the synths, were originally created as a worker race for the beings spoken about in many of the ancient books and texts and esoteric writings. The Watchers, the fallen angels, the deniers of God, the forsaken ones, the castaways, the original rebels, the banished ones, the ancient little gods of deep antiquity, the rulers of the nameless civilization lost to time. Atlantis is the closest memory we can muster, and that civilization was built on this one's ashes after it was already long forgotten. These are the beings that originally created the Greys, the synths, the original sin. The synths were originally created using a mixture of human and animal genetics, genetic engineering, cloning, and super advanced organic nanomachinery technology. As best as I can tell, these were very docile organic robots at first that did manual labor and menial tasks for the ruling elite that ran the civilizations. These Watcher beings actually had access to many super advanced technologies that gave the super advanced medicines. Oh wait, they gave them hold on. These Watcher beings actually had access to many super advanced technologies that gave them extremely long lives. Just like the Bible says, they were almost impossible to kill because of their magical technologies and super advanced machines. This is like Shiva. If you really read the Mahabharata and all the Sanskrit texts and Shiva, I mean, you're clearly getting a description of a character here that is a normal man, and he sings or says a magic word or mantra, sort of like Shazam! But whatever Shiva did. And then all of a sudden he would transform into Shiva, the war form, with the different colored skin and the multi-arms, and it was the destroyer of the earth. This is like Iron Man Shazam kind of technology from the past. You gotta think like super advanced people, like superheroes almost. Maybe that's why we have such a desire to see more superheroes on the screen. I mean, it's sort of like showing us how the past was, in a way. So, these are the same fallen angel/watcher beings who are responsible for many of the truly giant and unexplainable megalithic ruins that are scattered all over the planet and laying in ruins today. And they are the same beings who built some of the more advanced underground ancient cities that are being hidden by some of the previously mentioned military bases in the United States and all around the world. It's just not the United States, trust me. I plan on going very deep into forbidden ancient history and tackling questions like, who were these beings known to us as the Watchers? The Nephilim, the Titans, and the ancient gods. What was their civilization and world really like, and what happened to it and the others that followed it? How all of this ties to the secret underground cities in the western deserts of America, and how Area 51 is really hiding one of these lost cities that the Aztec call Aztlan. Some of these areas belong to these ancient Watchers and are still being guarded by their lost ancient technology, And I talk about this with Skinwalker Ranch and all these weird things that are happening. And I'm telling you, there's stuff underground is being guarded by these ancient machines, waiting for the return of the Watchers or a special or certain Watcher to return. I go more into this, so it's in the other essays. This is exactly what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch. Some of you already know all about Quetzalcoatl. That's what the Mexican and Aztec called one of these Watchers, these fallen angels, the survivor from Atlantis that came to Mexico and landed there after the catastrophe. And I will speak more about this that expands on the essay I already wrote on this subject, but more needs to be said. I also plan on writing a lot of people like Nikola Tesla, what he was really speaking with, the Black Knight satellite and his mysterious signals. I want you to think about Skinwalker Ranch here. So, I need to tackle some things that have been leaked to the public already that help prove what I have already told you. Some are whistleblowers and some things are on propaganda shows like Ancient Aliens and Skinwalker Ranch. They actually released some videos, footage, pictures, and other things I need to explain that completely helps me prove my case about the Greys. But this is still a huge amount of information I need to get through. And this thing, my essay is already 5 pages long, so I need to stop right here and call this the end of part 1. Part 2 and possibly part 3 will be finished and up within a few days. I lied, it's been months and months. I have never had to do this before, but this is just going to become way too long if I don't. So I'm basically telling you here, I'm done writing this. So I'm gonna expand a little bit here right now, because we need some more explanation about these little gray guys being machines. And shows like Ancient Aliens help prove this with some of the things that they show us. Like, there's an episode where one of the guys touches a triangle-shaped UFO that lands in like Kecksburg, or it was Kecksburg or someplace in the UK on a military base, and he touches it. He gets like a blast of weird numbers, and then it talks to him or something. Or no, he just gets a blast of weird numbers. Well, what the heck is that? So he goes home and writes them down. And then like 20 years later, this has happened quite a long time ago, and like 20 years later, they figure out that he wrote down binary code. And when they translate the binary code, it says something like, they are working on a computer program and they are monitoring the human race and its food chain, food supply, and all this weird stuff. And you're like, what the heck is this talking about? That is the old computer program from the past. And it blasted this message into this guy's brain about what it was really doing. It told him the truth. And it told him it was monitoring the food supply. And that's one of these machines from the past. But there's a better example of this with, what was it? Hold on. Shit. This is the hard part because I don't got any of this written down. Okay, Nikola Tesla. I said in here about the Black Knight satellite. Nikola Tesla always said something that he was being communicated with by something. At one point he said satellite, and he was getting radio transmissions from a satellite orbiting the planet. Then it got switched to aliens from another world. And I'm still saying that's more government propaganda than what Nikola Tesla was saying. Nikola Tesla was saying more like he was getting some kind of communications satellite from a satellite that was orbiting the planet, and like help and instructions and telepathically communicated with. And that is what we call the Black Knight satellite. Now this is not in here. Look up the Black Knight satellite. That's some weird object that's been rotating around the planet for a long time that they've tried to keep hidden. And it looks like a weird magic black rock, if the pictures they have of it are true. But I'm saying that's sort of like an ancient computer from Atlantis times. You can't attack it, you can't do anything to it. It's doing what it wants to do. It's like an ancient machine. Think like the Matrix kind of computer from the movies. That's like the computer floating around, and it's screwing with us. And sometimes it'll communicate with people like Nikola Tesla. And it helped him, and it advanced him, and helped show him different ways to do things to advance our civilization. so it could regrow our civilization like it used to be in Atlantean times. There's a lot of really weird things going on out here, and it does have to do with these little gray aliens and these little UFOs, but they're not from another planet. They're from our past, and they're machines. And I'm going to go way more into this. I got to write it down because I will just ramble for hours and hours. And I know a lot of you will listen to me, except I will take this into such little rabbit holes. It's unbelievable. So I got to try to keep myself under control here and just. So I got to write down the rest. But I told you I would expand some. And like I said, the TV show Ancient Aliens is really a lot of misinformation. I mean, and I'm telling you, this has to do with fallen angels. Who makes Ancient Aliens? I told you it's Prometheus Television. That's Lucifer Productions. They're putting it right in front of your face too. A lot of the people in the the elite stratospheres of all of this secret society stuff know and believe all of this, and they're not happy that I'm telling you guys. But more about that later too. So I'm gonna write some more on this one, and then I'm going to do the number 9. I know you guys are waiting for number 9 here. You want more on the Oak Island and the Cleopatra and all the Montezuma's treasure and Cleopatra coming to America and all that stuff. And I gotta finish that, so I'm gonna work on that one. That one's still coming. I'm gonna do the video for the original essay, and I'll expand on it. So it's coming. But thank you guys for listening. Please check out all my other playlists and videos. Like I said, I got like the first 4 or 5 of my essays in video form, like this one here already. And if you want to read them, they're on my site. I'm not the world's greatest author, but I'm trying. So, okay. Until next time, peace.